So do Netivot Shalom Sefer Bereshit. Wow, second Parashat Noach, and the page is Nun Hey. It's going to be probably a short one, but it's not the size, right? It's the quality. So Onesh Mabul Bechinat Hashlacha. So what is it? The punishment of the Mabul. It said in the second month, right? בחודש השני, ב-17 יום ביום הזה, נבקעו כל מעיינות תהום רבה, וארובות השמיים נפתחו, right? So in the second month, so the 17th day.
אפשר לעשות את זה לעילוי נשמת.
כן, עילוי נשמת מירב בת שושנה. Yes.
תודה, אמן.
ברכת השלמה ומירב בת שושנה.
תודה.
Yep. So, ויהיה הגשם על הארץ 40 יום ועל so we had rain 40 days and 40 nights, והמים גברו מאוד מאוד, וגברו המים על הארץ 50 ומעטים, right? So 150 days. So we have 40 days rain, 150 water, and then it took time to get dry. So basically it was around a year and a couple of days that Noach and the animals and everyone were together in the Teva. הנה בפסוקים אלו, so in these verses of the Torah, מתארים את ירידת המבול, they mentioning what happened right during the flood, during the Mabul, describing the Mabul. The name of Hashem is not mentioned, right? It says, לא נזכר כלל שהקדוש ברוך הוא פעל כל זאת. שלא כעניין סדום ועמורה, דכתיב, והשם המטיר על סדום ועל עמורה גופרית וישרת. So, but in Sodom and Gomorrah, it does mention over there, the Torah, the verse said that Hashem was raining fire on Sodom and Gomorrah. והיא בשכת אלוקים את הרי הערקיקה, right? That Hashem was destroying, etc. But here in the Mabul, it says that it is if like it's happened by itself. It says, נבקעו כל מעיינות תהום, like the water from the depth suddenly burst. And the heaven started to rain. But it doesn't mention that Hashem did it. Right? First question, why the Hashem's name, it doesn't mention over there. יש לבאר בזה. So we need to explain. There are different types of punishments. Right? One punishment is to write 1,000 times, right? I will not throw stones at the window of the school 1,000 times, right? Or whips, right? Whatever.
You had to do that?
No. I just use a hypothetical example. Nothing to do with
you just hit enter. You just keep hitting enter.
What?
You just keep hitting enter. You know.
Yeah, in my time.
You don't have to write it anymore. You just hit enter.
Today, yeah, we didn't have computers at the time. Anyway, so he said the severe punishment is hashlacha, to be throwing out. Throwing out. It means not that they throw it out from the class, which it happened to me many times, but that was actually like a reward. But the throwing out by Hashem, it means that nitelet hashgacha ha'elyona, which means the Hashem protection or Hashem divine watching over us has been taken. That's it. He's on. As we found in David HaMelech, כמו שמצאנו את דוד המלך שביקש, right, requested, אל תשלחני מלפניך, don't throw me away. He didn't ask not to be punished because he was willing, right, to accept responsibilities for whatever he was supposed to have, all the suffering, torturing, etc. But he just requested, he didn't request, don't punish me, don't throw me away, right? And this is exactly what the Nachash, right, the snake got. Because if you look at it, Hashem said, okay, you're going to eat dirt, right? So, like, you have food everywhere. He doesn't need to work. So it sounds like a reward. No. Hashem said, I don't want anything to do with you. You will have food to eat. Don't come to me. Don't ask me. And we need to dive into Hashem. Right? We are close to Hashem because of that. So David HaMelech didn't ask not to be punished. He just asked not to be thrown away. Right? Because this he could not bear. Because this is the worst. It's an analogy, right? For father that is punishing his son, sometimes he's beating up, sometimes he's, I don't know, taking this his tablet or the iPhone from him for 1 week, right? But the worst one is when the father is actually throwing away from his house. There is a story, I think, with the Shalom Sefer during the time when there was the big empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and they wanted to give the Jews emancipation, equal right, and everything. And this is what I learned, that he came to the parliament and he gave a speech, and his speech was an analogy, a story about the prince, that whatever he did, his father, the king, sending away to one of the remote islands, and he was there like for a couple of months, and then suddenly a crew came with engineer, architects, builder, etc., all the materials, and they started to build like a huge palace with everything, and swimming pool, indoor, outdoor, tennis court, whatever. At the end of the construction, which like last almost a year, the main architect came with the key, and like they started to have a big ceremony, and he was handing the key to the prince. The prince fell on the ground and started to cry. And the architect looked at him and said, why are you crying? Look what a beautiful palace we built you. He said, you don't understand. As long as I was here living in Airbnb or a motel or whatever, I knew that one day my father is going to call me back. But now that he built me this palace, I know he never won't going to see me again. And then Shalom Sefer said, please do not give us the emancipation. Do not. So this is the severe punishment, being throwing away from Hashem, right? And that was the mabul, throwing away, because it is if like Hashem took his protection, his divine, how do you say, hashgacha pratit? I always keep forgetting it.
Divine intervention?
Divine intervention, yeah. Hashem took it. Because the entire creation, right, was corrupted. As it said, ותשחט הארץ לפני האלוקים ותמלא הארץ חמס. So that was the great fears of Hashem, and therefore they were punished in such a severe punishment that the divine intervention was taken away. And then it says, "Veyamutu musdar," it's like the pillar of the land crushed. And then what happened was, "Venivkau kol ma'anot te'om haba," then the water from the depth, from the aquifer, actually came out because the foundation, like the earth, collapsed. And then heaven opened, and there was a rain, right? It was like boiling water. It was like a big, huge meat soup. Said that Noach, when he opened the ark, he saw the skulls, the skeleton, everything was like just one big mess.
Do you think so?
Yeah. Yeah, he saw millions of people, dead bodies. He was crying. He said, Hashem, what a destruction. And Hashem said, stupid, now you're crying? If you would cry before, you could save everybody. That's why that's the point that like Chazal are saying that he didn't daven for the people. He had 120 years. He just said, yeah, the Mabul is coming, but he didn't ask the people to do tshuva. Right? So that's why it was for Gnai. So that was the severe punishment that Hashem took, his divine intervention. Then right, and we said, as it says in the Midrash V'ikra Rabbah, on the pasuk, Im bechukotai telechu, v'natati gishmechem beitem. Right, so it says, if you walk in my path, my rule, I'll give you rain on its time, because the entire creation, right, it says shekol habriya mesuderet ukvua bechukot. Right, we have nature law, we have laws, rule and orders, right? Yesh chukot shamayim ve'eretz. There are rule for heaven and rule for earth. That actually putting up and standing, everything is standing accordingly, heaven and earth, that should be stand on the place according to the rules that were created. There's rule for the sun, rule for the moon, right? Everything is by the order. The rule for the sand on the beach, right? Because basically, if you look at it, the water should be higher and they should flood everything, but no, they have been stopped by the rule, right? And also there are rules for the aquifers, for the water in the depth. And that's why it says, Im bechukotai telechu, if you walk in my path, in my rule, if you're keeping it, Im mishamrim Israel et chukot haTorah, then az v'natati gishmechem be'itam. I'll give you rain on its time. And rain, it's not necessarily literally water that's coming from heaven. Goshem, Gashmiut is the physical things. So it says, גם חוקות העולם מתקיימים. Okay. אבל כאשר אין שומרים את חוקות התורה, when we don't keep the laws of the Torah, then we are like nullifying, we're canceling the rule of the creation. Right? The rule of the creation. And nothing is actually fulfill its part. And that was in the flood. That after the creation was corrupted and was shaking all the rules, right? Everything was not followed. Then, until the time that even the חוקות בני אדם, הסדרים המקובלים אצל כל בני אנוש, right? Like the most basic, logical rule that exists in any civilization, right? Even if you take a tribe that is isolated from the Western society and they live by themselves and they're still using stones or whatever to make fire, they have basic rule not to kill, right? Not to steal, not to take someone else's wife. The Hamas that they're mentioning in the Mabul is not stealing things from people. Basically, it was to take someone's wife. That was the Hamas. And he said that this is like the basics. So because of the corruption, even the basics were gone. Without expanding the topic too much, today I was told that they wanted to make laws and to have it in school, whatever, that parents should not refer to their kids with their gender until they are 4 years old, to let them choose. They need to call them the baby or whatever, not a boy or a girl.
Where is this?
Never mind. So you see, this is what happened in the flood. In the flood, actually, they had the ketubah. When men got married, they make it a legal thing. We think here today, people think that they invented everything, that they're very plural, liberal, whatever, progressive. No, they had it at the time. Men with men, men with animals. They got married to their animals, and they had a ketubah to make it legal. So what's the surprise that Hashem said, I have to wipe everything and it starts from scratch. I gave them the chance. Right? So if they don't walk in the chukot of the Torah, and not only that, Netivot Shalom doesn't mention it here, but I learned it today, that actually, Noach, and if you look at the verses, then he is related to Moshe Rabbeinu. And Hashem told Noach, go to the leaders and tell them that they can revert the decree if they will accept the Torah. And Noach went to the leaders. He said, will you accept the Torah, davening, sacrifice, everything? And they said, get out of here. Nothing, we don't want it. So, you see, they didn't want. They were wicked. So because of that corruption, the laws of nature doesn't hold anymore. Right? Doesn't hold anymore. However, we said in the Ma'apechat Sdom, in the destruction of Sdom and Gomorrah, it says, "V'Hashem imtir al Sdom v'al Gomorrah gofrit v'aretz." Hashem like bring the rain of fire. Yes, they were corrupted, but that was a local, domestic corruption, right? It was domestic in Sdom and Gomorrah. So the laws of the nature will still exist. They still hold. And therefore, right, there was not such a level of furious like during the Mabul, the generation of the Mabul, that the laws of nature were actually completely nullified. So that's why in Sdom, they were not punished with hashlacha, with throwing away, just the same rained fire literally on them. And also it said, and also destroyed the place called Kikar, these cities over there. So he said, and Sham, the Midat Adin, ve'en Sham, right, Rachamim. Okay. Ach lo hayta sham hashlacha, but there was no throwing away. And now the Chachamim are asking, ve'en yesh makshim al omro ve'Hashem imtir b'shem Havaya, right? It says Hashem Yudke Vavke, he was the one that rained the fire. And usually we're using Elokim for judgment, from strength, and we're using Havaya, Yudke Vavke, for Rachamim. So he said, how merciful it is when Hashem rained on you fire. So he said, yeah, Hashem rained blessing from heaven. However, when the rain, the blessed rain that came down, when it reached to Sodom and Gomorrah, they're changed into fire and sulfur, gofrit, because there was so cruelty over there. So domestically, everything was corrupted. So even the rain that came down from heaven as a blessed rain, pure water, turned into fire. So he said, and that was a chesed. Even that thing, because they just died and Hashem didn't throw them away. This is what it says in Masechet Arechil, שסימן רע לו ליהודו, it's a bad sign on a Jew, שעוברים עליו 40 יום ולא ייסורים ועוגמת נפש. That if a Jew has 40 days with no suffering and a little bit of depressed, it is also like being thrown away from Hashem. And he needs to check himself really carefully. What happened, what he did, why nitla menu hashgacha elyona, why the divine intervention was taken from him. Because everything goes smooth suddenly. It is if like Hashem said, you're on your own, I don't want anything with you, good luck with your life, and everything goes smooth. It's like nothing he's not watching over him. As it says in Tehillim, shivtecha u'mishantecha emenachamuni. Your whip and your cane, they will comfort me. The same way that the herd, right, the sheep, when the shepherd is using the whip, even though that the whip hurts, but still the sheep actually understand that the shepherd is watching him. He put him back on track. If he doesn't walk on the track, he needs to be reminded. So that whip reminds him. But he said, but if a Jew doesn't feel anything, doesn't see anything, doesn't see like the divine intervention that Hashem is watching him, this is the worst punishment. This is the ashlacha. And this is what it says in Sefer Dvarim, Hashem Elokecha imecha lo chasarta davar. Hashem is with you, you are not lacking anything. And it says, דאית על זה בתורת אבות, כאשר יהודי מרגיש שהקדוש ברוך הוא, when we feel that Hashem is with us, we are not lacking anything. Right? And according to this word, בפי דרך זה יש לומר, השם אלוקיך עמך, right? בכל אופן שהקדוש ברוך הוא מתנהג. So in any way, any situation that Hashem is behaving with us, whether if it is Avaya, right, Yud Ke Vav Ke, which is merciful, or it is Elokecha, which is the judgment, the fear, right, the ira, he is with us. And this is Ven Shivtecha and Mishantecha, right? Your whip and your cane will comfort me. And then we are not lacking anything, because this is the great happiness for us, that we feel really that Hashem, we know we are under his Choseh Tachat Tzel Kanfei Hashgacha, we are under the wings of Hashem. And if Chas v'Chalila it's been taken away from us, this is the worst punishment. And this is what the generation of the Mabul were punished with. And this is what David HaMelech was davening for, Al tashlicheni melefanecha, shetamid argish et hashgacha elyona. That I should always feel the divine intervention from Hashem. Nezrat Hashem.